10 presidential candidates will appear on the Democratic debate stage next week in Houston. Of the 10, only Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders are averaging double-digit support, according to Real Clear Politics. But that's not deterring businessman Andrew Yang from thinking he can be the party's nominee and beat President Trump. Here's what he told Anthony Mason in a CBS This Morning broadcast exclusive.
Polls show that most Democratic voters and Democratic-leaning independents, 2/3, the main thing they want in a candidate is someone who can beat Donald Trump.
Yep. Yes, I'm one of only 2 candidates in the field that 10% or more of Donald Trump voters say that they would support.
Why is that?
It's because I'm focused on solving the problems that they see around them every day. And I'm laser focused on trying to make their lives better. That's why I'm getting thousands of Trump voters, as well as independents and libertarians and Democrats and progressives. If I'm the Democratic nominee, we win. That's the math.
But that's Joe Biden's argument, too.
Oh, that's one reason why he's leading in the polls, and that's one reason you'll see me leading in the polls before too long.
You think you can beat Joe Biden?
I think I'll be the nominee. If you listen to Joe talk about it, his main argument is that his election is going to be a restoration of the Obama-Biden administration, in essence, which is a move literally backwards in time. And so, to me, saying that we can somehow erase not just Donald Trump's presidency, but all of the reasons why people voted for Donald Trump, to me, is not correct. I mean, you know, these things have happened, and we're going to have to address them. We're going to have to solve the problems that got Donald Trump elected. 1, if we're going to win, and 2, if we're going to move the country forward.
CBSN political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns joins me now. Welcome, Caitlin. You have traveled to several early states. What is it that voters are actually saying about Andrew Yang?
You know, what's interesting, his name doesn't necessarily come up organically the way it does Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden. But what Andrew Yang has is this kind of big, intense internet following. And that's
the
what's
Yang
really
gang, right?
The Yang gang, exactly. And that's what's really helped him kind of get to this point that he has made all of the debates. He's beaten out governors and even some senators to get on that debate stage next week. He's also attracted some controversy on the internet. Some kind of, more conservative people on the internet have taken to him. So what he has been able to do is kind of grow this kind of grassroots organization. And what I'm looking for is to see kind of whether that translates on the ground. He has been campaigning. He's been at all of the big cattle calls and forums. We talked to him most recently at the Iowa State Fair, and I think his pitch for this universal basic income is something that allowed him to have an immediate theory of the case, which some of these other candidates haven't been able to do. He talks about how he's an Asian that likes math, and so that's a good contrast to the current president. So he has kind of a ready-made bumper sticker. The question is, how does he start attracting real support on the ground?
Right. For people who aren't familiar, this is the idea that he would give every working American $1,000 a month and no strings attached. Is that an idea, Caitlin, that voters or even other candidates seem to be latching onto in any way?
You know, not really. And in his interview with you earlier this year, he talked about how this isn't necessarily a new concept. He talked about how Martin Luther King proposed something similar. Other candidates, though, just aren't ready to go there. Elizabeth Warren says it's better to, focus on student loan forgiveness. Kamala Harris said it's better to focus on her refundable tax credit for the middle class. Even Bernie Sanders has said that there are other ways to kind of help workers through this. Cory Booker, though, has a proposal to have baby bonds. So candidates have been talking about kind of how to help the middle class and working class folks kind of through this transition that we're seeing with automation, which is kind of Andrew Yang's reasoning for all of this, that all these jobs are being lost to automation, and so there has to be a way for government to step in. But there are a lot of critics, not only within the Democratic Party, but particularly outside of it, who say, well, how are you going to pay for it? Does this disincentivize work? Garnering some criticism, but it has allowed him to make a direct case to the public.
So, as we mentioned, polling averages show Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren consistently the only 3 candidates really polling with double-digit support. But all of the candidates who are going to be on the debate stage in Houston next week have received at least 2% in 4 polls. Do those lower-tiered candidates who are still on the debate stage feel that they are competitive at this point, heading into September, mid-September here?
Exactly. Well, making this debate stage was a big goal for a lot of these candidates, and you would think by being able to meet those thresholds that it's a good thing for your campaign. The trouble is that since the field is narrowing, this will showcase, perhaps more so than before, what the tiers look like, especially since you'll have Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden on the same stage for the first time that we've seen these debates. And they will be kind of the marquee matchup because they represent kind of two ideas within the Democratic Party and where it should go. So these other candidates like Amy Klobuchar and some others who have been polling lower in the pack need to use this debate to stand out, which is going to be very tricky. They will have, I believe, 3 hours, though, of debates to try to make that case. And then you have some others who are not on this stage who are still saying, Tulsi Gabbard and some others, that they want to try to make that October debate. So whether this, in fact, does start to winnow the field, a lot of strategists I've talked to, though, say that people are now starting to pay attention. Over the summer, people were on vacation and not really watching these debates. Now comes kind of crunch time.
Right, post-Labor Day, a lot of people are more focused on this now. Caitlin Huey-Burns, always great to see you. Caitlin, thank you.